Greetings and welcome to another edition of the Pedalshift Project. The Pedalshift Project is a series of conversations, thoughts, and experiments around the bike touring lifestyle. From tips and tricks to ideas on how to ride your ride, let's shrink the world by bike. Show notes and more are available at pedalshift.net/221, and you can email the show at pedalshift@pedalshift.net or text at 202-930-1109 and check Pedalshift out on all the socials as well. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 221st edition of the Pedalshift Project. My name's Tim Mooney. Thanks so much for joining. I am happy to be back from yet another tour and doubly happy to share it with you over the next few weeks. I don't have anything else to tell you about, so why don't we just jump right into this new tour? We're calling this the Filling the Blanks C&O Tour, but as you will hear, I think that the 2 days had kind of different things going on there. So part one is called YOLO. Here we go. They say you only live once, and some people shorten that up to YOLO, turn that into a verb, and then make questionable choices. Sometimes that's the pathway to adventure, and sometimes it's a convenient excuse to do things you aren't supposed to do. On my first day to complete a full ride of the C&O this year, this craziest of years, I YOLO'd more than I typically YOLO. Good morning from a couple of days before me leaving. It is a stellar day here. And tomorrow is going to be stellar. And the next day is going to be stellar. And then we get the remnants of a hurricane. So that's going to be the story of this trip. At the moment, I am contemplating whether I'm going to trim the length of this or whether I'm going to modify it. Well, I guess those are both the same thing. Or I guess, just go for it, or stay flexible and just roll with the punches. I think I'm leaning towards the last one being the least likely. A little background. We've got Hurricane Delta, which has yet to hit the U.S. mainland as I stand here on Thursday. It is relatively strong, not the strongest hurricane we've had, but it is definitely going to be, once it hits the mainland, it's going to be rolling up through this region, and it's going to be dumping up to 2 inches of rain. I would completely discount going out this weekend altogether if there was going to be strong winds that were going to be part of it as it gets up here. The forecast from folks that I trust suggests that's not going to be the case. Okay, so I'm going to lose my beautiful fall weekend riding, and I cannot tell you how great the weather has been for the last 2 weeks at least. The foliage is changing around here. It would have been perfect, but hurricane, what you going to do? High climate change. Hurricanes existed before climate change. I will note that for the record too. Anyways, so my point is that I'm in a bit of a flux. I'm still planning on leaving on Saturday. Saturday looks like it's going to be gorgeous weather, and it's going to start to degrade from there. So I'll at least get one fairly nice day. It's going to be more humid. I'm not going to have kind of the fall weather that I was sort of hoping. I'm actually going to be having a little bit of humidity. I mean, it's going to be this tropical air mass because, of course. So that's fine. It looks like I'll have a good day of riding. Then the rain is going to start sometime the next day, and over the course of Sunday and Monday, there's going to be up to 2 inches of rain on the trail. If you know anything, if you have listened to me opine about what happens to that trail when it gets any measurable amount of rain, you know that it could be kind of sloggy, especially in the areas where I'm looking at riding. And that actually is the second thing that I have to decide is, am I going to do 3 days of riding as the first thing? That was the original plan because Monday is a holiday. Unclear at this point, may just do 2 days just to avoid having to camp in a wet tent and have lots and lots of miles, 2/3 of my miles being just sort of muddy slog. The next question ends up being, okay, great. Congratulations, you have decided you're going to go on a bike tour of some kind. What direction are you going to go? And that's still kind of open to me at this point. I think that there's a part of me that wouldn't mind going back towards DC from this area. It's actually a part of the trail I have not hit this year yet. I'm not a completist by nature, but I think I have elements of that in me. And the argument would be that if I go from here to Harper's Ferry roughly, then I would have ridden every single inch of the C&O this season, which, considering, not so bad. So that's a compelling argument. The downside to that is that it's just, there's not a lot between here and Harper's Ferry. I wouldn't have minded going to Brunswick, but that would be an extra 10 miles of riding. There's a brewery there. But also, if you're paying any attention to the news these days, and more importantly, the coronavirus numbers, it is looking like that there are areas that are starting to see spikes. So I think I'm even more adamant in my low to zero contact. So I think that even if I wanted to go to Brunswick, I don't think I want to. That is an incoherent sentence. Even if Brunswick were an opportunity, I think that I would want to have a very limited interaction there. If I go the other direction, go towards Cumberland, there's almost nothing, and the only thing that I have as an opportunity is Cumberland. But of course, that creates issues for bailout points and other things like that. And also, I've already ridden that part of the trail. And also, that's probably, of the trail that remains that I would have as an option, the worst section when it gets wet. So I have some decisions to make. I think what I'm going to prepare for as I think about it more today, and I'll probably do another entry here in the audio journal, is, the direction I go and the vibe that I pick is going to determine what gear I bring and also how much food I bring, because it's entirely possible, whether I do 2 or 3 days, that I'm going to need to carry everything that I've got. If I do go to Cumberland, which I think I'm leaning a little bit towards, I know there's a good resupply stop there. If I go the other direction, it's a little bit harder to get supplies. Brunswick is available. They've opened up the Harper's Ferry Bridge, but Harper's Ferry is actually not a very good resupply town, I have found. So if I decide to do a 2-day thing, no big deal. I'll have plenty of food with me to handle all of that. But if I do decide I want to tack on and that, rain's not so bad, I can do this, I will probably end up wanting a resupply. That if that feels like a possibility, I think I'm going to end up doing the Cumberland ride. So that would be from here going west. So, one of my neighbors on a 4-wheel ATV going right by. Lovely. This is probably, and if you've listened to the show, I'm a bit of a planner when it comes to trips. The fact that I'm this late into the game here, I'm actually even recording, and I'm not even sure what direction I'm going to point the bike, is relatively new for me, especially considering the wild card of essentially hurricane grade weather. I have ridden the C&O in hurricane remnants. I don't think it was last year. I think it was the year before. It's fine. It's not a big deal. It's just maybe not as enjoyable. And I think that I'm getting through the morning phase of not having 3 days of riding with weather like what I'm waking up to right now. It's just glorious. So I think that there's all sorts of things that are on the table, and I'm just going to see how this forecast shapes up a little bit. But I'm going to have to do some supply shopping tonight, most likely, or on the way to go. I'm going back to DC to pick up my partner, who's been there all week, get her to bring her back out here before I go riding. So lots of variables, lots of things to think about, but I thought I would kind of get them down on audio tape. There is no tape for you all. Now, I'll let you know what I'm thinking. But in the interim, I'm enjoying a nice cup of coffee out here in glorious Technicolor. That is the beginning of fall here in West Virginia. So, more to come. Good morning from my cabin. Once again, you're getting all of the lead-ups and all of the information that's hopefully not too crazy. Here is the end of my decision-making process. I'm going to do a 2-day loop, given how the weather forecast is. It looks like today is going to be cool but humid, and by cool I say it's probably not going to get out of the 60s, which is fine. It's actually quite perfect. And the rain is definitely on the way, but it looks like I'm going to get a full day of dry, if cloudy weather. So in other words, perfect. Hello. My partner just came in on my recording session there. And then tomorrow, it looks like it's going to start raining probably shortly after I get started. So it's going to be fine. It does look like it's going to be relatively intense periods of rain. So I think I'm not going to make a huge push to get much further than Shepherdstown. But, by the time I get to Shepherdstown, I'm actually really close to Huckleberry Hill, which would be that last campsite that I stayed at early in the season. So that would complete the C&O for me. So that's the goal. It'll make for a long rainy day tomorrow. But you know what? That's fine too. So next time I should be approaching the C&O, and you'll know what I mean in a moment. All right, from the banks of the Potomac River and the woods of undetermined ownership. I think I'm close enough to the river, actually, that this is technically not CSX property anymore, but we're doing the bridge today. Quasi not right, but I'm going YOLO on this, full YOLO on this. Look that up if you're too young or too old to get that. It is very out of date as a reference, though. I am going to be approaching the bridge from a unique perspective because it looks like there's a new dirt road that was built back in these woods that gets me out of sight from any potential bulls. So that's fantastic. I don't know how easy it's going to be to get back up on the rail bed, though. So we'll have to kind of see how this all goes. I am going to sign out for now and wait until I get into a place where I feel a little bit safer to report in. Safety, of course, is my key here. I'm also going to keep my ears open for any trains. They are not running nearly as much, and they are not using this line very much anymore. So I think it is a fairly safe thing, despite my don't get on the rail lines near the washout, because that is a super active line, and they don't blow their horns at all as they come close to that. This is on a curve. The trains slow basically down to walking speed going over that bridge, and they blow their horns from miles away. So I have assessed this for about the last 10 years to be a relatively safe thing. Oh, by the way, the locals take their kids on this bridge. So again, not something that necessarily is something I would recommend, but and don't take this as license for me to tell you to do what to do, but this is what I'm doing today. All right, here we go. YOLO. So there's a lot to be said for scouting. I dropped my bike and took a look, and I had a strange dim memory that the other side of the bridge here was an easier approach from this point, because I have been down here before, but these roads had not been cut in, and it's unclear whether they're official for CSX or if they're just locals for their mud and their ATVs. I think it might be the latter, because they're not very well put together, but just enough to kind of cut through the brush here. But the best part was, as I did some scouting, I found a better approach, and that's where I'm heading right now. The original approach would have required me to have done a lot of unloading and reloading. This one, I might be able to push straight up. So we're gonna give this a shot. And I already got mud, because it's a mess back here. What is rubbing? It's not brakes. It was brakes. Something is rubbing. This is bad timing for that. My rear... No. I think I'm going to have to figure this out on the trail, because it's quiet, and I think speed is of the essence when you're doing this. To be perfectly honest. All right, so this will be the hardest part. It's a good push up the hill. No more steeper than that time when I was camping on the Katy Trail and I got really drunk and filmed it. #drunk. I'm #not drunk. but I'm not quite as fit as I was then. And it's also not paved. It's that big stone that you get when you go on a rail bed. All right. Doing all right. My technique is push, brakes, so that it holds. Rest for a second. Push, brakes. Yeah, that's doing all right. Should be able to get up here in about 5 or so more pushes. And the sound you hear is nothing, which is good. All right, let's go. Steepest part here. Every time I think that this is a lot of energy output, I think about how this is 20 less miles of biking. And a little more fun. A little more adventure. All right, take a break here. I'm about to get to the level where if a CSX bull was coming on the tracks, they would be able to see me. But this is a very remote area, and I just don't see that being likely unless they caught wind of me earlier. But I just don't see that being the case. All right. Almost there. I know this must be fascinating listening. Almost there. Yeah, this was definitely the way to do it. And hooray. And we're here. Why don't we walk across together? Now, let me describe it because I'm not going to take a picture of this. A lot of graffiti. A lot of people have been up here. Megan, July 31st, 2004. Sean Carr was here, May 27th, 2015. The bridge here is a little on the rusty side, but not too bad. I walk this as we go over the river here, and it is just straight gorgeous. And 3 2x10s. Ooh, and in some places they go to 2x6s, so you see gaps in it. This is not meant for pedestrians. This is meant as a service area, so you have to assume that it's safe enough, but not meant for this use. There is a wire guardrail here, and I don't think that that was always there. I wonder if that's a nod towards the recognition that people do cross this. And there's not much they can do about it. It is the only crossing of any type for miles in either direction. I'm nearly across the main Potomac. You may ask, what would happen if you fell? I'd be straight effed, because the Potomac itself is, man, if it's 4 feet deep the whole way across, I'd be surprised. Now we have low river levels. That's going to change when the hurricane blows through, but it's all good. Maybe hearing birds overhead. There's a lot of nesting up here of, frankly, pigeons. Nothing really exotic, unfortunately. And now I'm almost to the island, which is the thing that separates the river from Big Pool here in this area. Oh, I'm glad I did this. This is always fun. Yeah, and there are some boards that are less than secure. So I do not recommend riding this. Interestingly, there's one board up here. I saw this from across the river where they have a cone on it even, suggesting, yo, there's a big gap. Yeah, and there is. It's a big rotted out board. Totally fine, everything else is very stable, but you can tell, oh yeah, that is rotten to the core, quite literally. Got the bike around that, my wide rear with my panniers. Yeah, it's very clear that they sort of just nail in new boards as needed. And they are not, some of these are probably really old. So, on a scale of metaphysical danger to complete safety, I'd give it a 5. All right. Now, you may be tempted to get off here on the island, but that's a bad idea. Unfortunately, it does mean you got to roll on this horrible gravel. I have gone on the rail ties before. That's just a bad idea for so many reasons. But might get a little noisier and bumpier for the audio. But, so it's another curve. Another reason why I consider this a pretty safe approach is this is a double curve. And rail trains, as I mentioned, slow way down and blow their horns all over creation before they come even within miles of here. So you know what's happening way in advance. Also, very slow. Walking speed, probably not even as fast as I'm going right now, rolling the bike on this horrible gravel. This is kind of the worst part because it's a couple hundred yards of this. If you're using like a backpacking rig, or a bikepacking rig, I should say, it's a little bit easier. But since I'm fully loaded, not so good. So now, just in that time that we've been rumbling through here, I see a bridge, and that bridge is what goes over the Chesapeake and Ohio National Historic Park towpath. And the beauty is there's a well-trodden little wish path, I think they call them that, that goes right down to the trail. And so from this point on, I feel pretty safe. Not only from trains, but from security and all that other kind of stuff. Do I recommend this? No. Do I do this a lot? No. But I'm glad I did it today. The question will be, will I do it tomorrow? With more adverse conditions potentially. I'm not sure if crossing this, what I am going to do is, while I'm fresher, moving some of the brush out of the way there. Because if I'm doing this tomorrow, I want this to be much quicker and easier. The first time, I think I'd mentioned that I'd seen families with children on this. The first time I did this, I snuck up here, and I was like thinking, oh, gotta keep quiet, gotta not be seen. And then I see a mom, a dad, and 2 young kids walking the bridge. So there was that. All right. This is the challenging part, but once you get on there we go. Now it's all downhill literally to the path. And there we are, back on Park Service grounds. I have hidden for many a rainstorm under this bridge. This bridge was always the marker for home. I'm from the other side of the river. I'm 7 miles away from my cabin. So from this point, although it takes me, it probably takes me a good half hour to get across just with all the shenanigans. But now that I know the best route again, probably will be a touch less. But that's it. Congratulations. You have just crossed the secret quasi-legal bridge in 12 minutes. And a big hello from about mile marker 109 or so, just shy of that. And I have seen a lot of people out. A lot of people on bikes, mostly day trippers, but also a couple of people who looks like they're on tour. Kind of tough to tell these days sometimes with the bike packing rigs. You know, could be a day trip, could be bike packing. You just don't know sometimes. A lot of people, very full at McCoy's Ferry, which is the car camping spot that I just passed here. This is typically a moderately traveled portion of the trail. It gets much busier as you get closer to Hancock behind me and Williamsport in front of me. So, but what a simply gorgeous day. I've only put up one photo so far. I've only taken one photo so far just because I wanted to kind of get some miles under me since I got a little bit of a late start. And it's always a bit of a delay getting over that bridge. I realized that it was about 1 hour from the cabin to the trail. And going in that direction, that's pretty good. That would be remarkable going the opposite direction because it is more uphill coming out of the valley. So tomorrow on the return, should I go that route, it'll be different. There's a road route, but I do think that unless the conditions are really, really deluge style, I think the safer route in a rainy condition is to go back over that rail bridge, assuming conditions are safe there. I think the planks were fine. I think going even a touch slower just to be more mindful and everything will be good on that. I don't think it's unsafe, but again, not something I necessarily recommend for folks. I am taking a lot of things on my own risk-wise. All right, well, we will keep going. One thing I'll note is down here in the valley itself, the foliage is much less colorful. Where I'm at is about 300 feet above river level, or sea level, I guess we would call it, but river level in this case. And substantially more color than down here. It's just starting to turn here. So I'm still getting some nice views, but the one nice thing is that I won't be hit by a bunch of wet leaves tomorrow when I'm handling the rain. So there's that. All right, more to come. If it weren't for the fact that the situation was skittish and not interested in, shall we say, communicating, I just passed by a woman walking a goat. Not like a little goat, but a big goat. Like a size of a large dog, like bigger than the largest dog you can think of, like bigger than a Great Dane. But I said hello. I was like, hey, that's a sight you don't see very much on the trail. I got no reaction, and the goat got really skittish all of a sudden. So there you are, Charles Mill. I guess people bring their goats on the trail now. May you live in interesting times, I believe the curse goes. But I'd say that was delightful. A little bit before 1 o'clock, and I am in Williamsport. Just had a nice, huge lunch. I'm almost a little regretting that I ate everything, but because I'm having that good lunch coma thing. I usually don't like to sit for very long when I ride, as I have said on the show before, and because I tend to settle, and boy, I feel like I'm settling right now. The canal here, boy, they're really going to upgrade this area. They're building the brand new canal headquarters here, and it's going to be on the other side of the street. There's a little mechanism-y, bridgey thing to get you over there, which is not awesome. I would like a at-grade level thing for the bikes, but I think they may be adding that, but in the interim, we've got that. So if you do want to go and visit the visitor center, that's still there. They've really built out the canal area here. I think they're going to have one of the boats in here, when all of this is over and we can be near each other again. A lot of people here at a little kids soccer game, which is kind of fun to see. Very few masks, just going to say that. Not my style, staying away from that. I am going to be continuing down a trail. Don't know how far I'm going to go. I think Shepherdstown makes a lot of sense, at least to get food, but there's the idea of maybe going just to Killiansburg Caves, which is a few miles ahead of Shepherdstown, set up camp, and then go from there unloaded to town, grab dinner, and then come back, rather than go all the way to Harper's Ferry, because that would just add a lot of extra miles for tomorrow in conditions that I'm still not sure what they're going to be like. And I think I would prefer to not be in a scenario where I'm really slogging for a while, because I do not have a good bailout option tomorrow, as my partner is busy with a variety of online related things and will not be able to pick me up no matter where I'm at. So big rain, I'm on my own, and I got to get across the river and back. And so that's sort of where I'm at. But, if I end up going to Killiansburg Caves, I mean, we're talking close to, would I be hitting 100 miles for the weekend? Probably not, but in any event, that would be a good trip. So I'm looking forward to getting to camp, setting up, and then figuring out dinner from there. I do have a backup dinner if I choose not to go all the way to Shepherdstown, but it would be substantially less cool than what I could get in Shepherdstown, which is Maria's Taquerias, which is A+. Good stuff. See? Even they're clapping. All right. Off we go. From about mile marker 86 or so. This is the section of the trail where it's on and off pavement, for lack of... It's not pavement. It's concrete slabs. Section of the trail that was pretty much washed out over the years, decades. It was overgrown with ivy and stuff, poison ivy, and absolutely impenetrable, impassable. It was a road detour for a bunch of years of the trail's early time. Well, now they built that out, and we can ride on it again. Probably within the last, I want to say like 6-7 years, give or take. The boat traffic, as you can hear, prodigious. A lot of folks out taking advantage of the one really nice day this long weekend. And this has been a picture-perfect postcard today of recreational use. I mean, it's been fantastic. Lots of folks using the trail in good ways and less good ways. So, I ran into some folks almost literally walking two abreast, and I was ringing and announcing, no movement at all. And I was like, oh, geez, am I about to get upset about this? And then I noticed that they were using American Sign Language, so hearing impaired. So obviously I did not get upset, It's just like, good lesson. Hey, sometimes people literally are incapable of hearing. So, always take that into account. What a beautiful day. Muggy, as you would expect for the leading edge of tropical weather coming in. But not too bad. The temperature's kind of just that perfect place. Sun's behind a bunch of clouds, so it doesn't get too warm. I've had a lot of water, more than I expected to have. I have plenty, and I also have my filter with me. But anytime I've noticed, the pump handles have been off. So I think that Park Service has ended the season for for water pump handles, which is fine. And I kind of half expected that. And typically speaking, they'll keep them up. They'll usually keep them up this late into the season, because this can be a really high season for bike touring. But 2020 is going to 2020 everything, man. That's all I have to say. Okay. So my plan for the next hour is I got to get me a cell phone signal, because my partner has graduated from a certificate program at the University of Tennessee, and they are doing an online kind of swearing-in ceremony. She described it kind of like a graduation ceremony, but the way they're doing it is friends and family get to be online. It's on Zoom. So when her name gets called, we turn on our cameras from wherever we're at, and they take a picture or a screenshot of that. So sort of like your friends and family get to take a picture with you during your graduation ceremony. So I need to find me a signal where I can support video. And I'm currently at 2:30 p.m. unable to do that. So I need to get closer to Shepherdstown. Hopefully there's a cell phone tower that can support it, because I'm getting 1 bar of 4G. And my motto is 1 bar of 4G is equal to 0 bars of anything, at least in my experience. So I have to finish up my watering and Pop-Tarting and get my butt moving. So we shall meet again soon. That was weird. I'll record another thing of these. That's when you'll hear me next, after this fine interstitial sound. All right, we have left Shepherdstown behind, and we are flipping around, because I now have covered every single inch of trail that I have ridden this year on the C&amp, which is fun. So I am heading back to Killiansburg Cave, or campground. Now, the reason why I'm recording now is there were people that were already there. So it's possible I may not be recording at camp tonight, but we'll see. It was a great day. And I have lots of Maria's taqueria to fill my belly for the next couple of meals. So aces. Good early evening from a bit of wild camp. I decided I just didn't want to camp with anybody tonight. They seemed nice when I went by over at the Killingsburg Cave site. But as I was going by, there was a very good, not terribly well hidden, but a great wild camp opportunity. So I've decided to take that. And it kind of fits also into another one of my wild camp rules, especially here on the C&O. Technically, I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing, which seems to be a lot of what I'm doing today. It's the YOLO camp trip day. But it is I assume for the city of Shepherdstown, it is an outflow area for sewer, and it is a mowed area, so it is actually maintained. It does get human contact, so it's not like I'm trampling on wild areas or anything like that. There's a great flat spot that's tucked around the corner and away from kind of prying eyes. We're getting to the point where I think sundown's not too far from now. I've seen very few bikes go by. I can be seen, but I've gone ahead and, of course, I've got my more stealthy-looking stuff going on right now. All the oranges inside the tent. Even my bike is covered with a brown tarp at this point. So I'm sure it's visible. Make no mistake, I'm not trying to not be seen, but I think the odds of anybody that would care going by here coming to see me would be pretty low. The other bonus part here is, it's one of the few spots, some of these campgrounds, when you're there, there's a lot of overhanging trees, and I'm looking straight up right now, and I'm actually under nothing, which is an unusual thing here on the C&O. I think the majority of the campgrounds are very safe, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Park Service has an eye towards widowmakers and all those other fancy words for tree limbs that could fall on you in the wind. But given that we have some weather coming, this feels like a safer opportunity for me than the alternatives that are there. So that's good. It is muggy AF, man. It's wild how different the air feels compared to the last week, 2 weeks or so. I mean, it was getting downright chilly at night. We dropped into the 30s at times. I mean, I think we probably hit 80. I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case. I've got somebody coming here, so I'm going to walk slightly out of the way. That was me being stealthy. Yeah, no problem. The only thing is like, if there's like a trail ranger or something like that, and, they'd just be doing their job to kick me out of here, but it would be a pain in my butt to have to repack everything up here and move down. I can also play stupid tourists if I want. Oh, well, this isn't the campsite? What? Again, this is like my evil twin Timmy, who's camping. I'm crossing illegal bridges. I'm stealth camping where I'm not supposed to. What's going on here, man? Where was I? Weather. It's just so muggy, and you can tell it's tropical air that's coming in through here. Looks like I'm going to get through the night with no rain. It is going to drop into the 50s mercifully. It's funny because, I thought I was going to be, chilly, when I first was looking at the possibilities, and then when this hurricane came through, I now am regretting not bringing my little fan. I mean, it's kind of nuts. We will cool down relatively quickly, I would think, once the sun goes down. But the mugginess is a factor. I'm not going to lie. Looks like we're not going to get any rain overnight, but it will be kind of a first thing in the morning kind of a thing. So my plan is, I'm not going to set an alarm. I'm not going to do anything like that, but I will, as soon as first light comes, I'm going to start making some coffee. Did something different this time. I brought this little Italian espresso maker. It's one of those stovetop style ones. So I've been using my espresso maker at the cabin a lot, and so I've been enjoying that as opposed to AeroPress, and I've been liking that. So I think I'll make a few shots of espresso in the morning and pack up, get everything in, and hopefully beat the rain by that point. And then I got all my rain gear, so I'll probably start riding in it. May as well, because once this rain starts, it's not going to let up for the next couple of days. And I think it is going to be heavy at times. So we'll have to see. It's going to be, temperature management too. Riding in rain gear is not exactly what I'd call comfortable in tropical temperatures, but I think we're going to be in the 50s when it starts. So we're just going to have to see how that all goes. Tomorrow's entries, or for you, next week's entries, may not be as abundant, shall we say. Who knows? But I do have, it is interesting, what I've got left. As I mentioned, I think earlier, I don't have my usual bailouts. I could go to, let's see, once I get to Williamsport, technically there's bailout options, like I could get picked up, but it might not be that I'd have to wait there for hours and hours and hours. So the reality is that I'm probably going to have to bike all the way back home, including up the big hills, up the valley for those 7 miles, which is at the end of a long day. It's often not very fun. With rain, it may be even less fun, but you know what? I think I'll find some joy in it. One thing that I do know that I like is once I get going in the rain, I kind of like riding in the rain with good rain gear, because once you get once you're kind of that little bit of wet underneath your rain gear, you can't get any wetter. It's kind of fun. I kind of like it. So I think that's a good reason why I'm doing it. But I don't think I would put up with it for more than a couple of days, especially given how the conditions will affect the trail, as I have mentioned ad infinitum, all throughout this episode, perhaps. So thanks for hanging in there. All right, so that's it for the end of day one. I'm going to enjoy one of the great burritos of the region from Maria's Taquerias in Shepherdstown, West Virginia. Statistics. YOLOs, 2. Miles biked, 52. Feet climbed, 721. Really? Yeah, 721. Bridges crossed, 2. Bridges legally crossed. Look, what's really a bridge? I mean, technically a bridge is a state of mind, isn't it? Burritos purchased, 3. Burritos eaten, 1. And as always, we like to close out the show with a special shout out to the Pedalshift Society. Because of support from listeners like you, Pedalshift is a weekly bicycle touring podcast with a global community, expanding into live shows and covering new tours like the Kessel Run. If you like what you hear, you can support the show for $5, $2, or even $1 a month. And there's one-shot and annual options. If you're not into the small monthly thing, check it all out at pedalshift.net/society. On to the society. Kimberly Wilson, Caleb Jenkinson, Cameron Lien, Andrew MacGregor, Michael Hart, Keith Nagel, Brock Dittus, Thomas Skadow, Marco Lowe, Terrance Manson, Harry Telgadas, Chris Barron, Mark Van Raam, Brad Hipwell, Stuart Buchan, Mr. T, Nathan Poulton, Stephen Dickerson, Vince LoGreco, Cody Floerchinger, Tom Benenati, Greg Braithwaite, Sandy Pizzio, Jeff Muster, Seth Pollock, Joseph Quinn, Byron Patterson, Joachim Robber, Ray Jackson, Jeff Fry, Kenny Mikey, Lisa Hart, John Denkler, Steve Henkel, Miguel Quinones, Alejandro Avilés-Reyes, Keith Spangler, Greg Towner, Dan Gebhardt, Jody Zeranin, Lucas Barwick, Michael Baker, Brian Bechtal, Reinhard Biggle, Greg Middlemas, Connie Moore, William Gothman, Brian Benton, Joan Churchill, Mike Bender, Rick Weinberg, Billy Crafton, Gary Matushak, Greg Latois Lopez, James Sloan, Jonathan Dillard, John Funk, Tom Bilch, Ronald Piroli, Dave Roll, Brian Hafner, Misha LeBlanc, Ari Messenger, David Grotke, Wally Estrella, Sue Reinert, John Lecco, Stephen Granada, Philip Mueller, Robert Lackey, Dominic Carroll, Jackie McCulloch, John Hickman, Jack Smith, Carl Presso, David Neves, Patty Louise, Terry Fitzgerald, Peter Steinmetz, Timothy Fitzpatrick, Dave Fletcher, James Stratakis, David Neves, Mike Lazuski, Hank O'Donnell, and new to the society, David Zanoni, and thanks also to all past and anonymous folks for helping make this show happen. Thank you for joining. You can find Pedalshift at pedalshift.net for more great bicycle touring content. You can hear the Pedalshift project through Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast app. Opening music courtesy of Jason Kent off his self-titled album. The track is called America. Check out his band Sunfield's latest release, Mono Mono, wherever cool music is available.